doing here so I can focus on these better.
Okay, this is my stone hobby.
Is most of this stuff fairly recent? Or
No.
some of it I recognize as having been sitting around.
Oh, right. It's not recent. It's just a collection over the years.
Right.
I've always loved paint, and I've always liked stones. And so after I retired, I was interested in doing something along the line of art. And this especially appealed to me. So I decided I'd see what I could do with stone and my art together. So I started picking up stones, not having any idea what I was going to do with them. I just liked them, and they were so pretty and smooth. When we traveled, we'd go by streams, and there'd be all these pretty stones laying there, and I knew something, you should be able to do something with them. So I picked them up, and I started just doing simple things such as painting on the face of the stone. And then it occurred to me, if I could find some way to put them together, then I could do a lot wider range of things than just painting on the stone itself.
So your earliest stuff was essentially just painted paperweights.
And very simple things until I learned to put the stone together. And then, of course, I worked into a lot of other more complicated things. But even in putting them together, I started off with very simple things, such as animals that you select the stones, and these are all selected exactly as I picked them up. I did not smooth them. They've never been polished or anything. They're just picked up out of the stream and used exactly as they're picked up, but you just have to select the right sizes and shapes to do what you want. So I started off with simple things like turtles. This was about 1971, and I worked at it until about 1982. And in the meantime, I sold to gift shops and some retailers who sold my things for me. The county park took them, and Lake Junaluska's Methodist Assembly Ground sold a lot for me. And I made little things like frogs, which are simple. Not a great deal of painting on them, but the stones put together in the form of such things. Bugs always were good. Just odd-shaped stones put together with, and the bugs set on them. This base stone here came out of Lake Erie. Lake Erie had the most beautiful, I got the most beautiful stones from Lake Erie that I've ever had from anywhere.
Was this the trip when you made the famous run back with your trunk sagging because you had so many rocks in the trunk?
Yes. However, we had more grapefruit once than we ever had stones, as far as the sagging goes. This stone came out of Lake Erie. Ashtabula, Ohio, no, really, Conneaut, Ohio, has the most beautiful flat stones I've ever seen. This is some sort of sandstone, I think it is, out of Lake Okeechobee in Florida. And the bugs are from North Carolina. So you see, I put stones together from a lot of different places. They're characteristically different in different rivers and on different beaches. And so I made sort of just shapes of things like this. And then, after I'd fooled with the other things a while, I came up with mushrooms. The mushroom stem is also a stone, and this is the hardest thing that I could had to get people to believe when they were buying my things at craft shows. They always thought I was telling a tall tale when I told them that the stem of the mushroom is also stone. And it is.
And not shaped at all?
No shape. You have to put it together here and add some substance here to make it stick. But it was actually picked up in the shape it is. There's only one place that I've ever been able to find this shaped stone, and that's in Pigeon River out of Cherokee, North Carolina. I get those shapes. And this base is also out of Lake Erie. Very flat, very beautiful, and you don't have to paint it or anything. It's just beautiful by itself. Then I got into owls. And the natural stone of North Carolina is just perfect for owls and that type of thing. It has a lot of texture. This stone has a lot of texture, and it puts together very beautifully for this type of work, but it isn't nearly so good to paint or to, if you have artistic work such as this, The Lake Erie stone is much better because it is so smooth.
Is it the porosity or just the rough surface of the other?
I don't know anything about stone except the shape and the smoothness of the surface. This is a textured stone here, and you see it has various types of stone embedded in it, evidently, because it has a variety of color in it. Whereas this one is always gray and soft and even, no variation of color to speak of at all in the Lake Erie stones. But they're beautiful for artwork. So then finally I got...
Did you get all your Lake Erie stones in that one trip?
Two trips. Two trips. They came from Ashtabula, Ohio, and Conneaut, Ohio. The flat stones from Conneaut, just 20 miles apart on the beach, and the stone was very different. In Conneaut, the stone runs much flatter, much more uniform than that does 20 miles up the beach at Ashtabula, Ohio. Even on a 20-mile distance, it varies a lot. This is one of the first types of persons I ever put together, and the persons are much more difficult, and you have to be very selective in choosing stones for them. And the stones come from a lot of different areas to get the right shapes of the stones. The arms here are a bit like the stems to the mushrooms. You can't find them just anywhere. And so my collection of stones ranged from all through the mountains of North Carolina, the Oconaluftee River through Cherokee, the Pigeon River, Bradley River, and the mountain streams of North Carolina, and the shores of Lake Erie, and a lot of my tiny little stones came from Manio on the Outer Banks, just out off the Outer Banks of North Carolina.
Just right
So
off
it's a matter.
right on the coast, you mean? Or?
No, it's back on more on the bay side.
Uh-huh.
These little eyes and a lot of the little noses and things came from.
But they would be stones that were worn very round from
Right.
the tides and things.
Right, and it's very difficult to find them just that little and that perfect on the beaches or in the streams of North Carolina. They're usually not that nice. So that's where most of the little eyes and things came from. Then I got to making pairs, little men and women in pairs to go together. And a person has from around 12 to 14 stones, anywhere from 10 to 14 stones, depending on how you build it. Because the hat is 2 stones, the head is 1, the body, each arm, the pocketbook, the hands, the nose, and the feet. So the people add up to a lot of different stones, and stones that came from a lot of different places. It would be very difficult to go to any one stream and find the stones to make a person, because the stone was gathered from such a wide area geographically. And this is about the easiest size to make. It works, they work easily. These are very difficult. Now there's about 23 stones in this pair, around 23 stones, and I put them on a base stone because it makes them stand and behave themselves. So by the time you put each of those together, that's about 10 or 12 per person plus the base. And the selecting of the stones is really one of the most difficult things involved in this, is getting the stones to fit suitable for the form that you're trying to create. And the painting is very tedious, but not quite so tedious as finding the right stones to put together to create this. I did this from 1971 until about 1982. And I've almost had to give it up now because it's tedious, and you have to sit and look down to do it, and it's hard on my arthritic neck and shoulders, so I don't do it much anymore, but I still have quite a collection.